Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to it. It is the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live. Hi, how are you? How's your Monday? This beautiful, warmer, 32 degrees right now outside the old hacienda here in the Matsu, although the weatherman, damn you weatherman, is saying 4 inches of snow on Wednesday. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. We'll see what happens here, but we're ready to go, ready to rock and roll, and ready to face the week. Face the week. All right. Joining us today in hour 2 is going to be Ruben McNeil, who is a candidate running for House District 35 up. He is coming on board. This is a chance to talk with him, especially since today is the first day of early voting, and so we're going to dive into this and get things started, and hopefully we'll have a good conversation with Ruben here in hour 2, and we'll see what he has to say about pretty much everything, and we'll see where he stands on all the big hot issues for the for Alaska here. So that's coming out here in just about 50 minutes or so. We'll be picking things up with Ruben and starting off. That means in hour 1, we will be talking with you. We've got some headlines from around the state, including some, I mean, there's some good stories out there. Let's just put it that way. It was an interesting weekend, and we'll have some discussions on that. Plus, a little bit of a deeper look into the ballot measure number 2, which is the ranked choice voting repeal. And it should be this deep dive is going to give you a little bit of an idea of where everything is going and how much struggle we are going to be facing for this race, because this is an uphill battle, folks. Make no mistake about it. This is a group where they have got $12 million to throw at this thing. 12.2 million was the number off the last APOC, and of course they will have collected some here in the last because that's a 30-day reporting, right? 30 days they have to report, and then they will collect more in the 30-day window, and then have to tell us how much it is. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least. But that's a lot of money, and we're going to talk about where it's going, and more importantly, we're going to talk about where it's coming from, which I think is an even more interesting conversation that more people should be. Most people, whenever you see something, and I had to laugh because I was watching YouTube this weekend, as I am wont to do on the weekends, as I surf for some of my favorite commentators on YouTube. Or some of my favorite creators, and as I go through, man, I was getting just inundated with ads on, because I don't have ad block on my TV. I've got ad block on all my computers when it comes to YouTube, but man, on the TV, you just cannot get away from it. And I was just getting inundated with the no on two messaging. That one, and actually the yes on one messaging. They have done a good job. I don't know how much money the minimum wage folks have, but it's obviously a good chunk, because they were also out there with the messaging, and of course they were all about the paid sick leave and everything else. They're not hitting it. Surprisingly, they're not hitting it on the minimum wage part of that ballot measure. They've been focused on the sick leave part, where people are missing work. That has been the key focus here, which I think is an interesting take, because I would have thought, and I may be wrong, but I would have thought that the easy part of that would have been to focus on the extra couple dollars an hour that people would have made. That would have been an easier sell. But I could see the heartstrings being pulled the way that they're doing this. I could see the emotional plea on the sick leave thing. I could see that. Although, anyway, it's interesting to see what's going on there. So we'll talk about that as well. What else we got? A couple kind of funny stories, and I guess that's it. I guess that's I guess that's where we're at right now. We're ready to go, and ready to dive into this. Don't forget, you can join us in the show if you would like to help participate in the discussion. You could do so by going over to Facebook, facebook.com/Michael Duke Show, and just click on the live video. We simulcast the radio show every morning. And so you can join all the cool kids who are in the chat room there, and you can let your voice be heard and have, have your say, ask questions, do everything else right there in the chat room. It's a good talking point, or a good place to start your discussions here on this beautiful morning. So feel free to go out there and get her done, shall we? Let's get started. All right. So let's take a look. Where do we want to start? I think we'll actually start with this one. Because this was an interesting dive, and I will say this. Suzanne Downing over at Must Read Alaska, and the people who write, not Suzanne and everybody else who writes for Must Read, they're doing a really good job on some stuff. Now, everybody would say, "Oh, Must Read," right? They roll their eyes and they go, "That's just a right-wing rag," right? But here's the thing: they are acting like real journalists in a lot of ways that I think our other, what you would consider to be mainstream journalists, have not been. Last week, I read an article from James Brooks at the Alaska Beacon, and I gave him kudos because he actually looked into some of the claims that were going on, that Mary Peltola was making about Nick Begich on the Social Security thing, about the whole Ponzi scheme and Social Security thing. And that was what I was talking about when I was saying that's somebody who's actually diving into the issue, somebody who's actually digging behind the scenes, somebody who's actually doing some basic background on some of the assertions and some of the things that the candidates are saying. And Suzanne Downing over at Must Read has been doing that as well. I mean, we're going to go through this listicle where she talks about all the people who are contributing to this ballot measure. And I think this deeper dive is important to understand. But she also did a piece that came out on Saturday that is talking about one of our House district races. And she asked the question, where is Steve Menard living? Now, for those of you who don't know, Steve Menard is running for House District 28 in the Valley. And Steve Menard's got kind of a checkered past. I mean, his family's been here forever. I mean, the Menard Sports Center is named after his family, right? His family's been involved in politics and done things for many, many years. But he's had some issues. He's had some issues. He was recalled from the Wasilla City Council in 2011 after he went to Sitka to an AML meeting, the Alaska Municipal League. And he trashed a hotel room. I mean, just apparently the city was charged like $350 for a cleaning tab and repair bill. Apparently he had damaged a chair, a mattress, a burned carpet, vomit. I mean, it was like he peed on stuff. It was weird, right? I mean, this is just kind of like, whoa. He apologized and reimbursed the city for the money and everything else, but he was recalled by voters over that because it was just like that was not behavior that they expected in one of their city council members. He ran for House in 2016. He ran for House in 2022. And now you've got this latest run, which, of course, this is the race that, interestingly enough, this is the race that was being vacated by Jesse Sumner. And so you've got a seat where you've got three different Republicans, and I'll put air quotes around that, I guess, three different Republicans running for the seat: Alexi Moore, Steve Menard, and Jessica Wright. But it's hard to say where he actually lives, because during a candidate forum last week, somebody asked him if he lives with his wife. And he appeared to say during the candidate forum that he does. Then the person pointed out that his wife lives in District 29. And then he appeared to say he didn't live with his wife. It was confusing for the audience, to say the least. So Must Read Alaska dug into it and found out that Menard appears to live in Palmer, which is out of the district that he's running in. But he does get his mail in District 28, which is the district he's running in, at the Bogard Mail Depot, which is a mailbox rental place. No one lives at a mailbox rental place, right? He does have property in the District 28, but it's agricultural property. There's no buildings on it. It's undeveloped land. There's no trailer. He didn't even put a camper on it, right? So this is interesting. And this should be interesting to a lot of people out there, because this just seems like one more thing of, wait, how do you justify doing this? Because again, you've got Menard and then Jessica Wright, who is a perennial candidate. She and her husband Stephen are just every election season they are running for something, and they're nice people. They're super nice people. I've interviewed them both, but they're not ready for prime time. I mean, I'm sorry. They're just not. No, just no. Okay. So you've got this three-way Republican race with one guy who lives out of a mailbox, apparently. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff that people need to know about, right? This is the kind of stuff where it's like that's kind of questionable whether or not that should that even stand. And I'd be surprised if somebody didn't file an APOC question on that, because that just seems a little weird. But where are the other, reporters that are asking these questions, that are diving deeper onto some of this stuff? It gets to the point to where sometimes I wonder if today's journalism, with the exception of a very few, that they just, their job is to apparently paraphrase press releases from various outlets and organizations and everything else, and just never look any deeper, and just write summaries of what the press release is saying, not diving into it. But again, like James Brooks last week, that was a fantastic piece. This piece from Suzanne Downing, also a fantastic piece. We need more of this kind of stuff, because what the heck is going on out there? What the heck is going on? All right, we're coming up on the break. We got more coming up. We're going to continue here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We will return here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Back with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, hello, my friends. How are you doing this morning? Ooh, man. Hi, how are you? Such a weird morning that this morning when Brian's comment first popped up, I thought, meth? What are you talking about? Meth? What? He said, morning to my minions of mirth and merriment. And for some reason, my brain said meth. And I'm like, what? Maybe it's just me. I love the smell of meth in the morning. I don't know. Somebody's going to clip that out and play that over and over and over again. Good morning. It's Nick Beggage's birthday today. Best birthday present. Go vote for him today. It's 43 down on the peninsula, says Bill. Ooh-wee. All right. How many voters in the state? Says Brian. I want to say that there are, I want to say it's almost 600,000 registered voters in the state, but the rolls are bloated because obviously there's only 770,000 people. So that's one of the things. Let's see. I'm scrolling through here to see what else there's going on here. And Harold said he played right into my hands. That right-wing rag. Yeah, that's exactly what people say, but they do better than most anybody else of digging into stuff. Terry says Menard runs on his family name, nothing to see here, perennial candidate. Except that's kind of, somebody said, don't they have a list of places where people live? Well, apparently the property he lists as his physical address is that vacant piece of land. I mean, I'm not saying that the county or the borough clerk needs to run around, or the state needs to run around and physically look at each one of these pieces of land. But if it was brought to somebody's attention that this land, which is technically agricultural property, that there's no tent, no camper, no travel trailer, no house, no nothing built on it, if that's his physical residence, we might have a problem. And if he's paying property taxes and getting all this other stuff over in Palmer, we might have a problem. He shouldn't be on the ballot there. I mean, just FYI. Yeah. Catherine says they don't have to list a physical address, but they did. He did list a physical address, and it's that piece of agricultural property. That's what he said. Rick said, like I said, he's an idiot. Let's go here. Going through here. I'm an infidel said it's fake news. It's all fake news. Okay. I don't know which part was fake news, but there you go. But David points out also Lyman Hoffman doesn't really live in Bethel, does he? And Mary Peltola, does she live back in her hometown? I think aside from a few battered signs, I've seen nothing of Bernard. No, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, there you go. Kyle hit me with it. Thank you, Kyle. There's 532,000 registered voters in the state. I knew it was under 600,000, but it was a lot. So, and does that include all the dead ones? Yes. Yes, it does include all the dead ones and people who've moved away and everything else. Yeah. $2.55 per vote on the no on two people. That's impressive. That's how much they've spent. Is that right? Is that 5? Yep. That's about right. With $12 million. That's just probably right in there. Very light here in Fairbanks. All the light bouncing off all of our beautiful snow. It's 30 degrees in Fairbanks. Boy, you guys had some nasty weather last week. Holy cow. Holy cow, it was nasty. Terry says the DOE doesn't care. We have reported him. Crickets. Well, I mean, I guess this goes back to what I've said, that you've got to have faith in your voting system. And if you don't, it's going to create a problem down the road. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Okay, welcome back to the program. Hour one of this beautiful Monday. It's going to be nice. It says light snow, but I think it's lying because there's no snow right now. Fingers crossed. Supposed to get some snow this week, but can we hold off on that? I would much rather hold off on that right now than anything else. All right. Yeah, and then Trump is dropping fries at McDonald's. I saw that video actually last. I mean, you'd be surprised. It made it to YouTube, not in the news section because I'm not surfing the news section on YouTube. I'm entertaining myself. And even I saw that last night that Trump took a shift at McDonald's. And oh man. Oh, that guy is something else. All right, let's dive over on this whole ranked choice voting thing. So first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about the repeal groups, right? The anti-repeal groups, because I only watched YouTube for a couple hours this weekend, and I must have seen, maybe 7 or 8 commercials in, let's say it was a 3-hour window. That's a really heavy frequency. As an advertising guy, I can tell you if I see the same ad or a variation of the same ad 6 to 8 times in a 3-hour window, that's a lot. That's a lot. And now I know why. Because the no on two people have got $2.2 million, $12.2 million squirreled away. Well, they're not squirreling it away. They're spending it like it's going out of style. And they are doing, it's going to be a close one. The group just received a $4.4 million, the No on Two group just received $4.4 million infusion from a single outside group. The money to fight the repeal has come mostly from outside
Dark money.
Remember the thing that it was supposed to stop? Remember that was the thing, that it was the dark money that they were supposed to stop? The ads are warning of terrible consequences if we go back to just normal voting. And notice how they're not really talking about the ranked choice component of it. They're talking about the primaries. And they keep going on and on. Every ad mentions something about the political elites in Alaska. Well, I don't know about you, but I had never heard of Phil Izon until the repeal thing started. I didn't really know too many of the people had never really heard of too many of the people who were involved in the setting up the repeal vote. I mean, did you? Were you in the know on all these people? I mean, I feel like I'm kind of squared away on a lot of this political stuff in the state of Alaska, right? It's kind of my deal. And I was like, I'd never heard of these guys. They must be, doing something. But it's all money that's coming from outside. Now, here's just a little bit of the different groups. They spent the Main Street Media Group, they spent a $1.6 million with a whole bunch of groups across the state, radio groups, television groups, cable TV, and that's just like regular old media. There's a 1.6 and let's see. First they spent 757,000 at the end of August. Then they spent 1.6 million at the beginning of September, and then late September they spent 1.1 million, and then in early October they spent another $1 million as well. So that, I mean, they are flooding the airwaves, the radio waves. They're killing your YouTube algorithm with all the things and everything else. And they have outraised the pro ballot measure people 100 to 1. 100 to 1. I mean, it's just insane. And so Alaska Survey Research, which is Ivan Moore's joint, asked the question. They put a polling question to Alaska voters earlier this month, and it said ballot measure 2 will get rid of open primary elections and ranked choice general elections. It would bring back political party primaries and single choice general elections. Elections will occur exactly as they did before a previous ballot measure changed the election laws in 2022. In the primary election, voters will choose a party's ballot. They will vote for one candidate, and the winning candidate will be the party's nominee. In the general election, voters will select one candidate. The candidate with the most votes will win. This act would also bring back party petitions, special runoff elections, and other processes in place before 2022. It would put all election laws, except campaign finance laws, the dark money, back in place the way they were before 2022. If the election was held today, would you vote yes or no on ballot measure number 2? Amongst 1,254 likely voters, 49.9% said yes, and 50.1% said no. That's how close this is. When Alaska Survey Research asked the question of 886 super voters, who are basically people who consistently vote and are absolutely going to vote on November 5th, the answer was 50.1% yes, 49.9% no. That's how close this is. It is literally, I mean, it is definitely in the margin of error, but we're talking about 0.1%, folks. 0.1% of a difference. Don't tell me your vote doesn't count. Because here's what's going to happen. Let me just paint a picture. See, I'm gonna wet my whistle before I paint the picture. All right, let me just paint a picture. Here's what's going to happen. If this fails, if this repeal effort fails, we will be stuck with ranked choice voting probably for the rest of my life. Because this is our opportunity to change it back. This is it. They have raised $12 million to the repeal effort's $100,000, $120,000. They literally drowned us in money. And we're going to show exactly how susceptible we are to all that outside dark money. Remember back in 2020, when ranked choice was first on the ballot, this same thing happened. They spent over $7 million of outside money, mostly outside money, like 95% outside money, to make sure that this passed, and it passed 50.55% to 49.45%. Less than half a percentage point difference. Don't tell me your vote doesn't count. Don't tell me that $4 or $7 or $12 million for whichever race that they're talking about doesn't affect what's going on. The Yes on 2 group, well, see, this is the number, because Izon was quoted as saying in the paper last week, I think it was early last week, he was quoted as saying that they had raised about $120,000. But according to Must Read, the Yes on True group has really only raised and reported $67,849, mostly from Alaskans. The group has less than 1% of what the Outside Dark Money group has poured into the No on 2 campaign. Less than one. It's like half. $70,000 compared to $12.2 million. That's like half. A similar poll conducted by Alaska Survey Research, the poll that I just was quoting to you earlier, showed that among likely voters, 51% were against, 51.5 and 48.5 were for the repeal. So that means it's swinging the other way a little bit. Now, maybe their stuff is backfiring. Maybe people are actually looking at where the money is coming from. And thank God, the legislature, and French Hollis, I guess, was one of the main architects of this back in the day. He mandated that they have those disclosures in their advertising, both visual and audio, so you know who the top 3 contributors are. Because if you're seeing this ad over and over and over, and you're seeing, things like the 1630 project or the was it Article 5, Article 4, Amendment 4, whatever the name of the group is, and the 530 fund, and you look at all these different groups, and they're all outside groups. Every one of them outside groups that are funding this. Maybe that's starting to have a negative effect. Maybe people are looking at this going like, well, wait a second. They don't want us to vote for it, but all the money is coming from outside Washington, DC, and Texas, and California. And why are all these outside groups telling us how to vote? And still, the bigger question is, who are these people that are out there trying to make this happen? Maybe we should find out a little bit more about some of those people. What you think? Maybe we should find a little bit more out about some of those folks. Well, we're going to do that up next. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We return with more in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Back with more right after this.
Our light, our guide, and our trusted friend.
Okay, we are back. Let's see. Scroll back to where you guys, where I left off. Let's see, just 7 or 8 an hour. I was watching some long form stuff yesterday, and yeah, I saw the ads. I mean, like I said, it was probably a 2.5, 3 hour period, and I saw probably 6, 7 of them. Dodie says in Fairbanks they're supposed to have rain at 7 o'clock this morning. Oof, dang. Tuckerman says, vote yes on 2. Rank voting experiment. Lowest turnout ever, highest cost ever, longest delay in results ever. Yeah. Yeah. David says, I talked to a couple people at my HOA last week. Neither seemed to know who to vote for on ranked choice voting and Peltola versus Begich. They were conservatives and are not dumb. I educated them and they thanked me. Well, that's crazy, isn't it? I mean, that people at this point, here we are, 3 weeks away from election, 2.5 weeks away from election, and they still haven't figured out how to vote on this. Dang. And those YouTube ads are expensive. And we're going to talk about early voting here, why early voting is important here in just a second. Election instructions? I don't know what you're talking about. Election instructions. Let's see. The whole election cycle is scary. Don't be complacent. Get out and vote, says Kim. Let's see. Kyle says that Harold should have dropped out, and Harold and his 5% should have dropped out. If Parks wins, the third candidate will bear much of the responsibility. Now we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Let's see. In Hoboken. Oof, what? In Hoboken, New Jersey, 16 and 17-year-old students will be allowed to vote on school board elections. This will be a national effort by the teachers union to not lose control of the K-12 industry in our future. What? How is that even gonna happen? That's crazy. Going through here. Rain in Fairbanks is happening now, says Gordon. Tuckerman goes on to say that Ivan Moore, the Alaska Survey research, is very rarely right. Dittman research is almost always right as far as accurate polling. Every voter experienced personally ranked voting. That's why yes on 2 will win. That is why the dark money folks are spending more than $12 million to change our minds. It'll be interesting. For sure. And this is what kills me. Harold is a real Republican. And yeah, well, Harold, we'll have you on the show probably on Wednesday or Thursday this week for a bite at the apple there. We'll have Harold on because I want to be fair. But I mean, he supports Kamala Harris. He supports Mary Peltola, but he tells us he's the last conservative Republican out there. And he keeps telling us the ranked choice voting favors real Republicans like Lisa Murkowski and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But he's the last real conservative Republican out there. Let's see. Okay. All right. I guess I'm all caught up. Well, there we go. Whew, made it through all the comments in 60 seconds. Well, the 60 seconds, it wasn't, I mean, not in 60 seconds, was 60 seconds to spare. Oregon also has ranked choice voting on their ballot, as well as Colorado. They are desperately trying to get this ranked choice voting thing in there. They are desperately trying to do it all. They're desperately trying to do it. This is an extreme right-wing echo chamber? Okay. Apparently, he's not been listening to the same show that I've been doing, because I can't remember how extreme right-wing I am. Half the voters hate me every time I take Trump to task on anything, or say that I'd just rather live and let people do what they want to do, whether I agreed with it or not, as long as they're not hurting anybody. But, you're right. Extreme right-wing. I'm sure you keep using that phrase. I'm just not sure that it means what you think it means. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Let's do it. All right. So let's dive down a little bit deeper into here, because today is the first day of early voting, right? So today's the day that you need to get out there. And I know that I'm going to be early voting this year because I've got a lot of stuff going on. And so I need to make sure that I get it off my plate so I'm not up on election day and then realize I'm running out of time. So I'm going to be doing that for sure. But we're going to be doing some voting here quickly, but it's early voting time. But let's dive a little deeper here back into this money. The No on 2 campaign, which has about just over $12.3 million in the bank, is trying to convince Alaska voters to vote no on ballot measure number 2 to keep ranked choice voting. The advertising is relentless. Who's funding all of these ads? Well, it turns out that 2 names keep popping back up, John and Laura Arnold. Now, some of the biggest contributors are Article 4. They've contributed $4.4 million. It's a group out of Arlington, Virginia, that has associates of John Arnold, the Enron head, on its board. Arnold is a Texas billionaire who is one of the biggest funders of the original ballot measure that brought ranked choice voting to Alaska in 2020. The campaign donations were made back in August. This group's funding sources are pretty secretive. They have made ranked choice voting one of their priorities, this Article 4 group, as it is a mission of Arnold Ventures. Yep, the same John Arnold. In 2022, they gave $400,000 to Utah Ranked Choice Voting Action and $342,000 to Oregon Ranked Choice Voting Advocates, as well as others. What's known is that some of its money also comes through the Arabella Advisors Network, including the Hopewell Fund, which has funded other liberal causes in Alaska. The executive director of Article 4 is George Weld, who was the vice chairman of the securities division of Goldman Sachs. Sam Marr, who's employed by Arnold Ventures, is a director and secretary of the board of Article 4. Article 4 in 2022 made a grant to the Alaska League of Women Voters in Anchorage. They produce official voter guides for the municipality, and a $7,500 grant is a large part. It's a large grant for that organization. They also do election monitoring. $2 million of the money comes from the Act Now initiative of Houston. The Act Now initiative is another spoke of the John and Laura Arnold network. He was a hedge fund trader with Enron who now funds ranked choice voting. Again, the Arnold Ventures part of that whole thing. They got $20,000 from A4, which is the same group as Article 4 out of Arlington, Virginia. This was a non-monetary contribution by a subcontractor called Objective First Communications. Then they got $2 million from the Unite America Pact, another one of the promoters of ranked choice voting. Unite America is associated with Catherine Murdoch, one of the funders of the ranked choice voting vote back in 2020. She's the gal that said Alaska is a cheap date. Catherine Murdoch was that gal there. Then you got $28,000 from the Unite America Pact. Then you've got $10,000 from Unite America, from another Unite America Pact. That was another contribution. Then you got another $2 million from the Unite America. So Unite America has paid $4 million, $4.3 million in various donations over the last few months. And then you got $220,000 from Peter Kelly of Mill Valley, California. $220,000 from Robert Small of Berkshire Partners in Boston. Another $220,000 from Jennifer Sandel, who has the same address as Robert Small, reported in August. And then $200,000 from William Thorndike from Cromwell Harbor Partnership in Boston. And then the Final Five Fund. This is the one this is one of those organizations. It's from Catherine Giel. Final Five Fund is actually a ranked choice voting organization that's advocated for the top five finishers to go into a race. That's what she's been talking about the whole time. She got $150,000 donated there, and then a couple other individuals, and finally everything else. When you look at all of this kind of stuff, and you realize that you've got the 1630 Fund, you've got Hopewell Ventures, you've got the Arabella Advisors, you've got the Final Five Fund, Unite America Pact, the Article 4, and you realize that all of these places are outside big interests who want one thing, and that they're almost all of them leading themselves back to liberal causes, and yet they continue to tell us that this will be the most helpful thing for Republicans out there. You kind of have to go, what? How is this helping us? And why are we buying it? Why are we buying it? I mean, this is crazy stuff. And then you look at some of the natures of some of the people who have kind of this incestuous nature of only spending it in one area. They say that it's nonpartisan, and yet they've got and yet they've paid for people like Julie Luckey as the campaign management. She's a luminary in the Democratic Party. You've got the Ship Creek Group, which is a campaign company. I mean, this is a company that their whole business is political campaigning for Democrats. You got the MPG Van, which is data and list associated with the Democratic Party. You've got Grace Yang, who is a former comms director for Governor Bill Walker, and she is also a wheel inside of the Alaska for Better Elections part. True Blue Strategies, Bailey Strategies, the Alaska Survey Research, as we mentioned earlier. There's just a whole bunch of different groups. So this has become almost an industry here, but it's an industry that is just committed to making sure that we know how we need to vote on all this stuff from all this outside money. And like I said, if even Ivan Moore's polling, which is again, Tuckerman Babcock pointed out that Ivan Moore's polling is generally not very accurate. But even if Ivan Moore's polling is showing that it's moving in the wrong direction for them, that back in August it was at 51.5% for the no side, and now it's 50.5% for the no side. Maybe this stuff is backfired. Maybe people are starting to look at all those names and numbers at the run-on at the end of this the disclaimer, where they're hearing the lady say the top 5 contributors are, the Article 4 and the 1630 group and Unite America PAC and all these other things, and people are going, why do we need all these outside groups telling us how to vote? But if it is that close, if it's as close as Ivan Moore says, which I again, Ivan Moore has not always had the most accurate polling, but if it is, I would rather act like it is going to be that close and then be pleasantly surprised. But if it's within half a percentage point or 1 percentage point, that means one thing, folks. We need to get on the stick. We need to get out there. And if you support this, I'm not telling you how to vote, but if you do support the repeal of ranked choice voting, you need to get out and vote and bring 2 or 3 people who are of like mind. If that's what it takes, bring 2 or 3 people who are of like mind. Get those folks involved. And early voting starts today. Today is early voting day. Let's get it going on. Go to any division of election place, office, and you should be able to early vote there. Don't leave it for the last day, especially if you feel like you're slammed for time right now. Don't leave it for the last day. Go out there and get it done. Just check it out. And Kyle just said the state's newsroom is the parent organization for the Alaska Beacon. Yeah, I mean, I know the Alaska Beacon is also a thing funded by left-wing money. It's I know that. We know that the journalists and the journalists especially have really kind of stopped trying to pretend that they are non-biased at this point. We know that that's happening. But, I mean, I guess as long as we're informed, that's all that matters. Anyway, get out there, folks. Get out there, get something. Just grab a few people. Go vote early. Vote early, vote often. Go out there, vote early, grab a few friends. Tell people that it does matter. That your vote does make a difference. Let's not have this be another, again, half or 3/4 of a percentage point difference because somebody didn't bother to get up out of their chair and go do what needs to be done. All right, we got more coming up. Ruben McNeil, candidate for House District 35, is going to be up next. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Yeah, get it done before the roads get bad. Willie says he's doing an extra radio show on Prop 2 for Bethel and Dillingham this morning. I hammer it every week, and people are starting to understand out there. I see AFN has already endorsed, they've taken the position on ranked choice voting. That they're ready to go. Oh, it's so crazy what's happening out there with that kind of stuff. Good luck to you, Willie. I hope we'll get it. Let's see. This is making more sense, says Brian. Yeah, when you start looking at the money and you start looking at all the people involved and you start looking at the organizations, I mean, you're like, wow. You got the Hopewell and Arabella Fund. Here's what Kyle says. The Hopewell and Arabella started the Alaska Beacon as one of now 50, one in each state, news organization used to shape the flow of information about issues. Yeah. That's what the state's newsroom thing was all about. You okay down there? My dog is making weird noises down there. Paul Thompson said the poll he was talking about after the first question, they had 4 more trying to make it sound like it was a bad idea. Then they asked the first question again. I took both polls he talked about. Well, of course he did, because he is a Democratic pollster. That's what he is. Yeah. You got it half correct. Let's see. No. Tell us how to vote. No. Tell us how to vote. It's obvious we aren't smart enough. I think we are if we have all the information. The problem is that half the time we're inundated with so much information on the one side and we don't get anything on the other side. I'm just, Bill asked the question, do you honestly trust early voting? I do. I mean, because I'm going into the division of elections and handing my ballot over there. Is that what you're afraid of? Is the people at the division are going to do something, for, what's going on? The yes on 1 folks will push the no on 2 across the finish line. They're not accidentally on the same ballot, says Kyle. There is some truth to that. I agree with that. And David here has posted up some early voting locations. Absentee and early voting locations, alaska.gov early voting locations. So there's a link in there on the comments that you can go look at. Let's see. About Harold. He says, Gordon says, about Harold, the Overton window has moved way to the left so he can call himself conservative. Yeah. I mean, I got that. Again. Fairbanks has 6 inches of fresh snow with rain, sleet starting. Schools have been canceled, many businesses as well. So schools are canceled in Fairbanks this morning. All right. There we go. I see Ruben is hanging out in the chat room, but he's got no camera and no microphone. Ruben, are you listening there? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to face the world here, my friend? What do you got going?
I'm here, buddy.
I got no picture there, buddy.
I know. I've been working on the last 10 minutes. I guess there's an app that I have open with my camera turned on. I went through all of them and I can't. So I'm sorry about that.
No, you want to try and reconnect. Sometimes if you reconnect, it will grab the camera app from everything else. So if you want to reconnect to the link one more time, we'll be good to go. We can try it. And if not, I'll throw a picture up. How about that?
Yeah, I actually tried that, Michael. Apparently it didn't work, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll put you back on hold and I'll build a thing here for you here. So just hold the line. I'll be right back to you. All right. Ruben McNeil is going to be our guest, which means I need to pull this up over here and do some stuff over here and yada, yada, yada. All right. We'll get it all squared away here. Let me do what I need to do here. I gotta get some Ruben pictures up here. There we go. All right. Let me get things squared away, and we will return in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense, Liberty Base, Free Thinking Radio. Back with more right after this. Hour 2 dead ahead.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends, and welcome back to Hour 2 of the big radio show for this beautiful Monday morning. I mean, I guess it's beautiful unless you're in Fairbanks, where if you're listening right now, schools apparently are closed or being closed in Fairbanks, and that there are many businesses who are closing for today due to the fact that they had 6 inches of snow over the weekend, and now they're getting sleeting rain on top of it, and it's closing down the roads. Apparently, people are saying, if you can stay home, do stay home. That's what's going on right now, but they are closing schools in the Fairbanks area. So if you're listening to me and you hadn't heard that yet, and you were trying to hustle the kids out to get ready to go to school, apparently that's a no-go today because of wonderful weather, the wonderful, wonderful weather. All right. So Hour 2 today, we just been talking about early voting. We've been talking about the ranked choice voting ballot measure and everything else. But in Hour 2 today, we're going to pick things up with our candidate. We've got joining us this morning to discuss his candidacy is Ruben McNeil. You could find him at rubenforalaska.com on the web. You can also find him out on Facebook as well. He is a candidate for House District 35, American Proud, Conservative Loud, his website says. That's who he is. So let's jump over there and get started with him this morning and see what he has to say. Let's bring Ruben McNeil onto the program right now and get him going on. Good morning, Ruben. How are you doing this morning, my friend?
Yeah, good morning, Michael. We're doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on board and joining us today. Lots to talk about with the whole election just 2 weeks away. That's got to be a bit of a relief, I would think, at some point. You know, I don't know how long you've been running, but it's I know that as I got closer and closer to election day, it always felt pretty good to know that that final finish line was in sight.
Yeah, I think all the candidates are excited for the next 2 weeks. I think a lot of the work in these campaigns are starting to ramp up quite a bit. At least that's the case for me. I didn't have a primary technically because I'm head to head with my opponent. So I've been really ramping up the work here towards the end and spending a little bit more money towards the end here. But I'm very, very excited. I tell people that I talk to, I'm very close to getting my life back, and I'm ready to do that to some extent because I've been pretty campaign focused lately.
Yeah, no, I bet you have. Let's talk for a little bit. First, tell me before we get into your backstory and your bio here. Let's talk a little bit about House District 35 for those people who don't know. Maybe they live in it, maybe they don't. Where exactly is House District 35? What does it cover?
Yes, sir. We're here in Fairbanks. We're the University of Alaska Fairbanks District. Um, uh, Here in Fairbanks, we're west side, Chena Pump, Chena Ridge, Geist Road area, Esther, University Hills, Shanley, out towards the airport, U West, over here on the west side of Fairbanks. Like I say, it's the UA district.
All right. So a big chunk of West Fairbanks, obviously, and this has been always considered to be kind of a more blue district than anything else. So you're running an uphill battle to begin with. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll discuss why you decided to jump in on this. So who are you? Where are you? Where do you come from? Give us a little bit of your origin story, as the superheroes say.
Yeah, so Michael, this is a purple blue district, and I ran 2 years ago. We had a loaded slate. There was five of us at the beginning, and then we ended up with four in the general. So I got an uphill battle in a snowstorm, which we're having right now, but I'm up for it, and I'm gonna give it a hell of a try. Who am I? Well, I'm a 30-year resident of Fairbanks. I've built a career in Fairbanks in the private sector. Um, I work in the medical field. I'm a respiratory therapist. I'm primarily an outpatient respiratory therapist, but in the last several years, I've focused on outpatient sleep therapy. I am the CPAP guy in Fairbanks.
Oh, you're
I've been
saving lives then. You're saving lives. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who finally got a sleep study done. I've been trying to get him to do a sleep study for years. CPAP changed my life. I got a CPAP about 20 years ago and it changed my life. So you're doing the Lord's work out there for sure.
Well, I am. It's I always I love working with people. I love having impact on people, and I kind of stumbled into CPAP therapy. I've been doing CPAP therapy my whole career, but the last half, I would say, I've really focused in on that being my specialty and my expertise. And I really do enjoy it, and you're exactly correct. It's truly transformative, and I just like having that type of impact on someone's life. So I've made a career doing that in Little Fairbanks, Alaska, which is kind of funny. In my company, we're the busiest branch. So it keeps me very busy, and then you throw a campaign on top of it, and you lose your life for a few months. But I'm up for it, we're doing really good. My father, I came from a military father. My father was in the Air Force for 22 years. He came to Alaska in the early 70s with his pregnant wife, who was pregnant with me, and he drove the highway in the early 70s up here with his brother and my mother. And as soon as he crossed over into the Yukon Territory and into Alaska, he fell instantly in love with Alaska. And he knew where he wanted to be, and he spent the rest of his military career trying to get back here. Well, me and my sister was born on his first tour. We were born down in Elmendorf, and then my father transferred out, and then was able to come back in the late '70s to Eielson, and he did 4 years at Eielson. When he did his tour at Eielson, he figured out he knew he wanted to live in Alaska and be in Alaska, but when he came to Eielson, he knew where in Alaska he wanted to be, and that was the interior. So I grew up around a father that loved to hunt and fish, uh, and it became a passion of mine as well. I appreciate Alaska on so many levels. My entire family is actually from North Carolina. So I have no family up here. I'm kind of the Lone Ranger. But I appreciate Alaska on many levels, and none more than the people, especially interior Alaskan people. These are good, hardy people, and they take care of each other, and they're tough. We're getting ready to go through a a winter storm here. I woke up this morning and I immediately ran to my door and opened it up and found about 6, 7 inches of snow, fresh snow on my deck, and that was from about 10 o'clock last night. So when I wrap with you, Michael, I get to get outside and play snow games.
Yeah,
Uh, um,
shovel all that shovel all that snow with the rain coming down on it. That should be fun. That'll be,
that's the race. That's going to be the race this
yeah,
morning. Is to get it off the deck and get it off the steps before the freezing
right.
rain comes, because then it gets fun.
You say on your website that you are American proud, conservative loud. What is that phrase? I mean, anytime somebody puts a phrase or a slogan on their sign, I always want to know, what does it mean to them when you say that, when you're American proud, conservative loud. What does that mean to you?
You know what, Michael? I'll be very, very honest. Is that 2 years ago I came up with that slogan on a walk around my neighborhood, and it was a beautiful day. I had filed. I was getting and I was trying to start building this image of Ruben in Blue District 35. And I'm like, and I just decided that I wanted to be true to myself, regardless of where my district was or what type of district it was. I'm fully aware. People look at me and say, Ruben, you do know where you live, right? I mean, you do know what's going on there. And I said, I do, but I think I'm going to run the most effective campaign if I'm true to myself. So I was literally on a walk. I was walking through my neighborhood. It was a beautiful early summer day, and I was just thinking about things like that. And I'm a rhymer. I kind of I like things that rhyme. So it just kind of came to me. I'm like, I love it. America is something that I want to be a focal point to my campaign. I believe, Michael, that what's good for America is good for Alaska. And I'm proud to wave the colors. I'm not ashamed of my flag. I have it displayed on my mailbox. I have it displayed here on my house. I'm just a proud American. But I grew up in a Southern conservative family. My father was conservative to his core. He was a Republican. He was very much a Reagan Republican. Um, um, my father, he always told me and my sister, he says, if it can be done, it can be done in America, but you're not going to get it for free. You put your nose to the grindstone and you work hard. You can do whatever you want to do in America. But he said, so I grew up in that type of an environment. So I wanted to bring my love for the country and my conservative roots to the forefront of my campaign, regardless of what my district looks like. But I have to say this, Michael, is that I have spent a lot of time doing cheap the cheap work that a campaign is, from my perspective. I don't have a lot of money. I'm not very good at fundraising. I'm not comfortable fundraising. I despise campaign fundraising. I hate asking people for money, especially in this economy. It just makes me very uncomfortable. So I do the cheap work. So what's the cheap work? The cheap work on a campaign is door knocking, is walking the streets, is standing on a street corner holding a sign, and that's what I do. And I tell you, I got to tell you, is that in this district, the door knocking and the people that I've met, it gives me hope that maybe this place isn't as blue as this district isn't as blue as is believed, if you look at voting history and
Right.
history of elections and things like that. So it just kind of bolstered my belief that maybe this American American Proud Conservative Loud campaign is not the bust that everybody thinks it is, because I don't
Right.
think it's the bust at all. Uh, um, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's interesting because again, as a kind of a bluish district, I would thought that that would not have played well, amongst others. But if you're finding out on the street that there are more people who are resonating with that, then maybe you've hit on something there. We're going to take a quick break, but Ruben McNeil is our guest. He's a candidate for the House in District 35. We're going to continue with him here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We continue with Ruben McNeil right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
All right, Ruben McNeil is our guest here. We're in the commercial break right now, waiting to return to the radio. So what have you found out there, Ruben? What have you found that the people that, when you're door knocking, what have people said to you, out there that has given you a fresh batch of hope?
The big thing, it's kind of funny, it's a mixed bag. I think any candidate will say it's kind of a mixed bag. Some days when I door knock, I'll follow a Republican list. I got people that are supplying me with a list of just Republican voters so that I can focus my attention in there. And I'll attempt to save time, save money on my rack cards by hitting houses that might not be interested in me. Uh, um, so it's a mixed bag. People care about. I've got a little bit of a reputation for being the guy that stands on the street corner waving with a flag in my back pocket, holding a Trump sign and my campaign sign, things like that. So some people will care about things like education. The PFD is still a big draw. But believe it or not, people are most interested in national topics. What I think about Trump, what I think about the border situation. It's kind of interesting, and that's where my interest originally in politics came, is from national politics and what was happening under Barack Obama and things like that. So it's really a mixed bag, but I look at the voter turnout. I think we all do this. In this district here, we're about 20 to 25% voter turnout. And I just believe, Michael, that there's a lot of conservatives, or there's enough conservatives sitting on the sideline waiting for something. I had a very interesting conversation with an uncle who's active in North Carolina politics, and he said, if Alaska's anything like North Carolina, people are looking for hope in what's going on in the country right now. They're just looking for someone to really hang their hat on and see see some hope that maybe we can change the direction of the country. So I've taken that a little bit to heart. It's been bolstered by some of my door knocking and some of my interactions that I'm talking about now. And and on top of that, I just want to run a campaign true to myself, where it naturally flows from me. And I want people to feel what I want to do as a legislator and what I want to be as a legislator. I'm not going to run any clinic with you today on the legislative happenings in Juneau or anything like that, but I want to give people a sense of who I am and what I'm all about, and I feel hopeful when I can actually interact with people. And I'm finding that a lot more are like-minded towards me than not.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's interesting to see. And I often wonder why, what people are feeling, especially conservatives who are in a more blue district. Do they feel kind of downtrodden? Do they feel frustrated? Are they not voting because they feel like their vote doesn't matter? Or, I'm often kind of wondering about things like that.
You know, my sense is from the people that I talk to is that it's just direction of the country. Um, that just doesn't inspire people. People just, I think there's a loss of confidence and trust in government, and they can see it on a national level. They can see it on a state level. I mean, let's pick on the dividend. Uh, I think this year, we're looking at there's this POMV formula. It's what's supposed to have been like a 50-50 POMV. This year we paid even less to the
Right.
people, and you know,
Right. No, I find it frustrating when that kind of stuff comes up, but I also find it interesting that people are more focused on national stuff, which I think is actually a problem. I'll be honest with you. I think focusing on the national stuff and ignoring the local stuff is a bigger problem, but we can get into that here in just a second. Ruben McNeil is our guest. We're returning to the radio, the Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty based, free thinking radio. Please make sure that you like and share the show. You like and follow, you do all the YouTubey things, likes and subscribes and ringing the bell and all that. Let's get going on. Here we go.
Public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
That's right. Pain in the something or other. Welcome back to Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Ruben McNeil is our guest. He's a candidate for House District 35. And he is talking with us today about his candidacy and things that have been going on. Ruben, let's get into the details of what's happening in the legislature right now. You've got some issue points on your website and everything, but we know that the biggest issue that faced us this session was education. It was the one thing that sucked all the oxygen up in the room for the whole year. And people were frustrated by it. Now they did get a bit of a BSA increase, but it's not what they wanted. So we know that they're probably going to be coming back again this session. If you go down to Juneau, what's your position going to be on this educational increase? Because you say on your website, and I want to make sure that I quote it right here, that you say that education, expand parent choice while strengthening public education and rewarding effective teachers. So what do you support in that? And how would you have voted if you had been in the legislature this last go around?
Yeah, I actually supported the Dunleavy's veto. I actually saw Dunleavy at the Lincoln Day dinner here in Fairbanks and walked up to him and kind of gave him a jab for that, but not in a proud way. It's just that he took some stands that I felt was important. His desire to direct funds into directly to the teachers and to the classrooms and bolster some of these charter school programs was important to me. We need to strengthen parent choice in education, and so I would have been with his veto, but you know we do need to fund education. We do need to educate these kids and prepare them for the future in competing with other countries that are not our friends. China and Russia and countries like that. We need to prepare these kids. So even though I'm running as a conservative, I think I automatically get the label that I want to you know, uh, kill public schools and do all of this, and it's just not true. I'm a public school student. I was raised in the. I mean, I came up in public schools, but I have concerns. Um, I do think that we need to direct money to where the money is needed. I didn't have an issue necessarily with the BSA, the one-time BSA increase, but I kind of figured that was going to happen anyhow. Um, but it's going to be a hot issue in this next session. It's going to take people that are going to have to make some really really tough decisions, and I'm up for it. But I'm not going to war against education funding. But I do believe that there are opportunities to you know sh- move money where it has the greatest impact. We've got to get results for the money that we're spending. We're spending some of the most money per student in the country, and we're bringing in some of the worst results. And people are like, well, how do how do you improve that? And I'm like, well, the first thing you don't do necessarily is throw money at it and just hope it goes away. We've got a great example in the Reads Act. The Reads Act is showing some improvement in reading proficiency in some of these in some of these early grades in school, and there may be something to that, and we need to build on that, and continue down that path, maybe in other areas. I'm a big reading and writing and math and U.S. history guy. I've done a couple speeches lately that's really gotten some traction. Is that we need to get back to teaching U.S. history to these kids, and building
Right.
some of that American pride, because it's going to serve our country better if we can do that stuff. When I came up in school, just like you, I actually enjoyed civics. I enjoyed American history. I was proud to be an American. I, you know, people throw around this phrase, "the greatest country in the world." I actually believe it, and I still believe it. But we do need to we need to fund education, but we need to do it smartly. We need to make sure that parents are involved, that there's choice and there's alternatives, and we need to get the money where it has the greatest impact for the kids. And of course, we have issues with teacher retention. That is an issue, and we need to deal with that appropriately. But we also don't need to break the state any more than we already are.
Right.
We have to be responsible with that. We have to be responsible with how we fund things. Uh, um, so yeah.
Well, and I guess the big question is, and then, how do we set that up? And is the best answer to give money through the base student allocation, which has a lot of things built into it, but they keep saying, well, we want the kids to be taken care of, but less than 50% of the money is making its way into the actual classroom. A lot of it's being sucked up by overhead, facilities, administration. I mean, shouldn't we look for ways to fund education outside of that, or should we reopen the BSA to try and take a second look at it? What do we need to do?
No, I actually agree with that. When we work it through that formula, a lot of that money gets kind of lost in the administration and areas that don't really impact students directly in the manner in which we want them impacted. And we may want to look at that, you know, in a whole different way. Absolutely, um, we're not going to get what we want until we get these classrooms, kicking out kids or moving kids through that are proficient in these core areas. And if we have to look at it, different ways of getting that money to that effect, then we should do that. We shouldn't be married to the necessarily to a BSA, or we can just kind of retool the BSA so that we can divert money to where it needs to happen. I am I am an all options on the table type of guy in many different ways. I want to go into the legislature with an open eye and say, let's hit this with ideas and let's see if we can do things better. Now I know I'm going to be a freshman legislator and I don't have any experience in Juneau, and I understand that there's a swampy game going on there, but I'm up for collaborating and getting with people that have really good out of the box ideas, and see if we can get some traction under that, and pushing forward. Education being an obvious one, and it's going to be an issue in the next legislate. There's no doubt about that, and it's a shame. It's not a shame, but it's a shame because it's not really a we don't really have a long term fix in the works right now. We're in Band-Aid mode right now. And I don't think
Right.
that serves the
Well,
kids very well at all.
because the answer is always, well, if we just had more money, we could do better. And
Right.
unfortunately, that's not what has been happening. We've continued to Our graduation rate has barely changed since the days of Sarah Palin. It's been nearly 20 years, and our graduation rate's increased by maybe 3%. So still 1 out of 4 students are not graduating, and those who do graduate still need remedial math to be able to take basic level math courses in college. And yet we keep pushing all this money into it, and they keep saying, well, again, if we had more money, we could fix the problem. But if you're repeating the same thing over and over, and you shouldn't expect different results, something has got to change. And whether it's whether it's a change to how the formula is mandated, or something similar to the Alaska Reads Act for all the other stuff, including math and science, et cetera, we've got to have some accountability there for the monies that are being spent.
Yeah, I have no issues, requiring some sort of accountability or asking for some sort of accountability. What are we getting for our money? And but it's always it makes as a regular guy out on the streets here, punching out a living, blah blah blah. It's always uh, throw money at it, throw money at it. We don't have money to throw at it, and then now you're starting to throw our money at it in regards to stuff like the PFD. And we're just like, what are we getting for this? What are we getting for it? Stop it. It's like a horrible bleed, and it's gonna take people to get up there and set their feet and say, education, let's tackle this baby at the beginning of session. Let's get this taken care of so we can move on to other things in the budget that we need to deal with. I think, and I know there was an effort last year to do that. I know that the veto kind of threw it into a little bit of a tailspin. So I applaud the last session for really trying to tackle education on the front end. Um, but but uh, but but outside of the money, let's challenge these kids. Let's
Right.
these kids are smart out there. They're
Right.
really, really smart. And I'm not talking digitally smart. These are intelligent kids. Let's challenge these kids in these core subjects, and let's push them, and let's see what we can get from them. But in order to do that, we do need to give the teachers what they need, and we need to get the funding directly into the classrooms. How we do that, I'm an absolute open book, uh, um, um, for doing that. But we have such potential in our kids, and I don't feel like we're tapping it. And I think our focus is on other areas, and it's just not fruitful.
If I made you, we're down to the last 2 minutes before we got to take a break. But if I made you king for the day, and gave you the magic wand to be able to do it, how would you fix the education, component here? How would you change the outcomes, the way that in what the way you're talking about, so that our scholastic scores were up and that we were getting more efficiency? What do you have any ideas of what, if you could wave the magic wand and do it, do you have any idea what it would be?
Yeah, I would get rid of a lot of the sidebar distractions for these kids. We've got to, we need to absolutely focus on math, reading, writing, and history. We need to teach these kids, what can be useful in their future careers, and we need to give them a foundation to where they can be contributing citizens. Uh, and uh, um, and but we have to, teachers teach, and teachers need resources, and they need to be compensated for their efforts and their expertise and their skills and their talents. And so if we focus our funding and our attention on the students and giving the teachers what they need, and I had a magic wand that could do that, that is where my focus would be. Does that mean we kill music, art, sports? Of course not. Okay. All that stuff gets rolled in, but we got to start with the core, and that's what I'd be focused on.
Yeah. Kind of a classical education, right? I mean, that's really where we need to
Exactly.
focus on the classical education of students, reading, writing, arithmetic, reason, logic, and rhetoric, logic, and reason, those kind of things. That's where we need to be focusing on to get it to get things rolled up. All right, Ruben McNeil is our guest candidate for House District 35. In the next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the PFD and some of the other big issues that are facing us. Also, don't forget today is early voting. Now, I just got notification that the Fairbanks division of election offices are closed today. Everything's closing down in Fairbanks because of the snow and the ice, the rain and ice storm that's coming or happening right now. And so you won't be able to early vote today in Fairbanks, but this week, anytime this week and anywhere else in the state, you can go early vote right now for any of your candidates, any of the ballot measures, get it all done, get it out of the way, because, well, let's face it, what if Election Day in Fairbanks was today and they decided that they needed to close the polls early or something else happened? This is exactly why early voting makes serious sense right now. Go out there and check it out. All right, we got more coming up. The Michael Duke Show continues. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Ruben McNeil is our guest on your home for common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Ruben McNeil is our guest, ready to go here. And we will be continuing on in just a moment talking about the permanent fund and the taxing of that. And but we'll talk a little bit about defined benefits and maybe some other stuff as well. Ruben, I did want to go back real quick, and this is just kind of a personal thing for me. I don't like to repeat myself for folks who are listening to the podcast later, but your push to your push in your professional life for the sleep apnea issue, that's just such a huge thing to me. I used to talk about this all the time when I was in Fairbanks, especially because I mean, it was life-changing for me. It really was. 1 in 4 people, these are old stats, you may update me on this, but 1 in 4 people suffer from sleep apnea and don't even know it. And it can shorten your life. It can make your life miserable. I mean, I was tired all the time. I mean, so tired that I remember having a conversation with my wife on the couch one night, and I literally fell asleep in the middle of the conversation. And that was when my wife's like, "Something's wrong with you." And I got checked, and I did it, and it was the most amazing thing. It was supposed to be a 2-night study, and they woke me up like 2 hours into the first night and said, "Please put this on right now." And they put the mask on me, and I had the most vivid Technicolor dreams. The doc said I stopped breathing like 83 times in an hour or something. It was crazy. I mean, it was just crazy, and it's so hard, and it was life-changing. Any advice for people out there? It's not just fat people, it's not just old people, it's like there's all kinds of people that can be affected by sleep apnea, and it's a big deal. It's a silent killer.
Michael, my heart is smiling right now because I've been putting CPAPs on people in Fairbanks, Alaska. Think about this, Fairbanks, Alaska, for almost 30 years. Now, I've focused my career on outpatient respiratory. I didn't really jive with inpatient respiratory. I did it for a little while, but I discovered outpatient where I could go to people's homes and build relationships with people long term. And then when I started doing that, I started doing CPAP. I have to say, I have never had so much impact on a person's life than I have with a CPAP machine. I love this therapy. I believe in this therapy. Michael, I could run a radio show on just my 30 years of working with CPAP patients. I love it. it absolutely works. You are one of many, many testimonials. It is absolutely life transformative. I work with patients every day. Okay, and I actually like I like doing this with patients. Is that I'll actually open up their sleep study report with them. Now the doctor does this. I'm not a doctor, so but the doctor will do this. But I'll do my own little twist. And I'll look at an occurrence of like 60 events per hour. You're mentioning 83. Let's just do 60 for easy math. I tell so I'm like, okay, 60. I'll ask them how many minutes are in an hour. 60. You're having 60 events per hour. You're having one per minute, right? So let's look and see how long an average event lasts. Oh, 30 seconds. So an average event lasts 30 seconds. You're having one event every minute you sleep. So let's go back to the hour. So technically, half the time you sleep, you're not breathing, you know? And I do activities like that, and you can just see the light bulb
Yeah.
come on
Oh
and
yeah.
their eyes get saucer sized, and they're like,
Yeah.
wait a second, I'm only breathing half of an 8 hour night. Yeah, you're breathing 4 hours out of an 8 hour night.
Right. Right.
Okay. And you want to be Superman and you want to take care of your family. You want to work. You want to do your house projects. You're not going to do it with that little of
Yeah.
sleep and that that quality of sleep, which is nothing. And you wonder why you're a slug.
Yeah.
You
No.
wonder why, you know.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, the doc. I mean, like I said, I never did the second night of the 2 night sleep study because they're like, nope, that's enough. You just go home. The worst part was is they sent me home at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd taken the rest of the day off, and I was like, so I went home to try to go back to sleep without the machine, and I felt like I was dying. It was just, oh, it was so horrible. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's life changing, definitely life changing. So anybody out there feels like I felt, it feels like very tired no matter how much you sleep, if you snore horribly, go get yourself a sleep study. It'll
Well,
change your life, that's for sure.
well, here's the thing. Here it's real easy. Is that if you're sleeping relatively normal quantity of sleep and you still wake up tired and you snore, so the three things are snoring, witnessed apnea, and daytime fatigue separate of the number of hours of you sleep. You got any of those, you need to get your tail in to a sleep lab and let us study you, because we have the fix and it is remarkable.
It'll change your life. It'll change your at first. I still remember that dream. They say you don't dream in color, but they put that machine on me and I had the most vivid technicolor dreams you've ever seen in your life. It was
That's right.
all right. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty based, free thinking radio.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Huh. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay, we're continuing with Ruben McNeil here, candidate for House District 35 up in Fairbanks in the interior. Don't forget it's early voting today, although you folks in the interior are going to have a little bit of a trouble because apparently they've closed the division of election. There's a massive snowstorm and now a rain sleet storm on top of it. They're shutting the whole city down. And so go, but this week you should go early vote for sure. Because imagine if today was election day and this is the kind of weather you got today on election day. This would not be the day you want to do that. Ruben McNeil's our guest, candidate for House District 35. Ruben, we've seen what's happened. We've talked about education, but we need to talk about the overall budget, the size and scope of government in the state of Alaska. If you've looked at the governor's 10-year forecast, you see that moving forward next year and moving forward every year thereafter, we have a deficit of $500, $700, $800 million, almost $1 billion. Then it gets into the $1 billion territory, deficits running forward. The only big readily available pot of money is the PFD. And I fully expect that if we continue on the road that we're traveling right now, that there will be no PFD in a couple, 3 years. And then they'll look at us and go, well, you need to pay your fair share. You Alaskans, free ride, die hard. We need to pay just like everybody else. Then we'll see a tax on top of it. All these ideas, whether it's new things for education or bonuses, or somebody's got to pay. So the question is, who pays? Should we just cap out the PFD and take it all? Should we change what we're doing? Should we pay a full PFD and then figure out where the extra $1 billion for the PFD, the full PFD comes from? What do we need to do?
Well, listen, I imagine there's probably some legislators that are that may be listening to your show regularly, not just for me, just regularly. And I'm going to make their eyes roll back in their head, and they'll be like, "Oh, this guy, he's so naive. He's so ill-informed. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Juno is a different animal. Blah blah blah. And budgets are increasing, and all of this and all that." I actually believe that we're missing an opportunity here with the PFD. I believe we have a we have an opportunity to grab something and hold it steady, hold the PFD amount steady, and then work around that and towards that end. And we're not doing that. It's like the governor sends his budget over, and then the Senate takes a swipe at it out of the PFD program, and then the House takes a swipe out of it, and then the people get the crumbs. It just seems to me like we don't have we don't have people that are serious about cutting spending in government, in state government. You know, they've got this. We got this Wilikowski decision. You know, it's an appropriation, and we've let the foxes in the hen house, and now we're seasoning the chicken and we're setting the table, and they're just going in and they're just ripping skin off of the people's dividend. I always say that the the regular person out there, the regular family, they got skin in the game, and in the form of their PFD, and I don't really see enough government skin. So I don't have a quick solution, but it just seems like we're missing an opportunity to take something like the PFD, hold it steady, and then budget to it to the best of our abilities. Now, are we going to get it all? No, I'm realistic. No, we're not going to get it all at all. But we can certainly do a hell of a lot better than what we're doing now, in my estimation. And I'm up for it. I'm up for going up there, setting my feet, and say, "Let's get to work, boys and girls. You know, let's draw some lines here, and don't cross them. Let's set our feet. Let's look at spending cuts and try to get a spending cap." I know that we're constitutionally obligated to balance the budget, and that's fine. We don't want to nobody wants to go into savings. I get that, but people are hurting, Michael, and we can help them a lot more than what we're doing.
Right. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, even if, because, and you say, people aren't going to get the full PFD. So what would you support? A 50-50 PFD, a
Ah,
Hammond style PFD, or what is your suggestion for how much PFD should be paid out?
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny, we passed this 50-50 POMV. I think this year it was actually a 25-75.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
was the split this year. Yep.
I mean, it's a joke. So I've always been an original statutory dividend guy. I'd vote for a full statutory dividend every time and twice on Sunday. Because but the reality is that we are where we're at. Okay. But the effort's not there to pay that dividend. My opponent, not to mention my opponent, or spend time on my opponent, as lovely as she is, she there's no loyalty or desire to pay that dividend, in my opinion. It's all about fund government, fund government. I believe Rob Myers put out a bill. I don't think it passed. I'm pretty sure it didn't. Where there's positions in government that are being funded but aren't filled, and there was an
Oh yeah.
effort to maybe
Yep.
get rid of some of these positions. And I'm thinking, now that is common sense, smart legislating. Why aren't we doing things like that? And the reason why is because they can. They don't have to. But you're right. 2-3 years, no dividend. They're going to be coming for new revenue, taxes. And, the question is that do you want taxes now and a dividend later, or vice versa? And my sense is that we have an opportunity here. We have a mechanism by which we can calculate, we can have a number, and we can work towards that number. And if we do it with a true heart and an understanding that that money actually does matter to Alaskans, especially in this economy, I think we can get a lot of that paid, but we're not gonna get it without pain. We're,
Right.
we're not gonna get it without pain,
Well,
period.
I think you struck on it. I think you struck on the problem here. The problem is that there is no appetite for fiscal control. There is no appetite for cuts. There's no, it's all about the spend. And as much as we would like to see them reduce the spending, and in fact, that's been our mantra on this program for years, is that we should have been cutting the spending all along. There is no political will to get it done. It's always more. It's always more. Now, have you seen what Ben Carpenter's been doing, trying to do with the fiscal policy working group plan of, instituting a spending cap and enshrining the PFD and putting up a small sales tax and increasing the taxes on the oil companies and including resource development and all those things? Have you seen that? Is that something you can get behind?
I actually had a conversation with some people at a rally, who was talking about that, and I had every intention of looking into that working group, and I haven't, but I kind of know the gist of it. You explained it very well there. Here's my stance. I and I think I speak for a lot of people out here, out there, is that I am not for any sort of a tax until we start, and I wouldn't even consider a tax until we start taking spending cuts seriously. I mean, seriously. And the ones that hurt is what I'm talking about, because it's gonna hurt. But I am not a new tax guy. I think there are, I don't necessarily know what they are, Michael, but I just believe that if we put the effort towards making some really tough decisions, um, there may be a tax in our future, or call it a sales tax, whatever.
Well, there is
But
a
man,
tax
there's
right now. There's a tax right
oh,
now.
a
It's a tax
regressive
on the
tax. You got it.
tax on the PFD. So the question is, if it's a no tax situation until they get their act together, where's the incentive for them to do it? That's the problem. Where's the
That's
incentive for them to do it if there is no? I mean, that's part of the problem right now, right? I mean, I don't want to. We're down to the last 60 seconds, so I want to give you the last 60 seconds for your elevator pitch and for how do folks find out about you, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll let you go there. Good, jump on it.
no. It's fine, Michael. And what you're saying is we're already being taxed in our dividend, and you're exactly right on that. Something has to change, but we got to change the direction, that people are that view the dividend and what it's meant for, and what its original intention was for. And we're just getting so far away from that. And I'm open to solutions, but we got to change direction. As far as my elevator pitch, I am a core conservative. I'm smaller government, better government guy. I love Alaska. I've committed myself to the private sector in Alaska. I want to go to Juneau so I can represent common folk interests, because that's who I am. My website is rubenforalaska.com. Today is early voting. I was happy to be on the radio show this day, and so we can kind of get people out. The weather has blown up here in Fairbanks, but
Yep. Yeah.
I'm excited for the next couple weeks. I'm making some
All right,
headway.
Ruben4Alaska.com. Folks, we're out of time. We'll see you tomorrow. Sorry, Ruben, we're up against the hard break there. I'll give you the last 2 minutes here for your final thoughts. Anything else that maybe we didn't hit on, or any other topics that you think were important? I'll give you the floor here for a couple minutes to finish up your thoughts here.
Yeah. So I've listened to your radio show enough to understand where you're at on the dividend. We're not that far off, Michael. But there's no appetite for there's no appetite for new revenues when spending just when spending in Juneau, in my opinion, is irresponsible, and it's void of what really serves the interests of the private economy in Alaska. And I want to partner with people that are serious about tackling that issues, but are serious about making tough, painful decisions in order to get this state back in line fiscally. Um, you know, as far as me as a candidate, is that I would be a junior legislator. The only leverage I would have against a budget is the fact that I do have a vote, that I do have a voice. I will get a microphone, you know, and I get to be in the conversation, and I can promise you that I fully intend on bringing, you know, common sense, um, logic to any discussion that I partake on as a legislator.
Right.
I'm all about serving the interest of Alaska and Alaskans. And I have my passion is more than in my voice and my tone. I really want to get to work and do the work, of
Yeah.
the people on behalf of the people. And it's where my true heart lives.
All right, Ruben. Well, I mean, I hope, again, my main problem with the position that you're taking, and I've said this to everybody that's kind of said this, is that, there is no will to fix this. The only way we could do it is by forcing them and starving the beast. And if we had a full PFD, all of a sudden they would have to look at what they're doing, because there would be this huge deficit, and they'd be like, well, wait, now how do we fill that? And they'd either have to cut or they'd have to tax, one of the two.
Well,
And then
don't.
I'm sorry, go
Don't
ahead.
misunderstand. I'm sorry, Michael. My apologies for disturbing. Don't misunderstand me. That I am a full statutory PFD guy. Like I said, that's what I was saying earlier in my discussion. Is that we got to hold that firm steady, and we budget to it. We budget around it. We cap to it, or we cut to it. That's so. I'm with you on that, definitely. But man, we've let this beast get too big, and we've opened up that gate, and it's going to take some hard work, tough decisions to rein that in, and I'm up for it.
All right. Well, Ruben McNeil, good luck, my friend. House District 35, again, rubenforalaska.com is his website. I'm posting links up right now in the chat room for folks who may want to go over there and take a look at it. And you can donate your time, your money. You can get the information on where Ruben stands on things, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you so much for coming on board this morning, Ruben. Appreciate it, and stay safe out there. Go race that. Go shovel off that deck before it gets too rock hard.
All right, sounds good, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on board and joining us today. I appreciate it. All right, Ruben McNeil, our guest, finishing things up for the Michael Duke Show today. All right, my friends, thank you for being part of it. Tomorrow, Chris Story will be returning, and Brad Keithley will be joining us again for the weekly top three. Look forward to seeing what comes about tomorrow. Thank you for being part of it. We will see you then. Be kind, love one another, live well. You folks in Fairbanks, be safe today. All right? We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.